Hi, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about why you need to specialize. Okay, so it's been a while since I used the green screen. I thought I'd bring this thing back for a little bit. I used to use the green screen every week and some people didn't like it, some people did, so but I thought I'd use it again today. So anyway, like last week, I finally booked my trip to San Diego. So in the summer, I'm going to take a couple weeks and go back home to San Diego where I grew up. It's where my mom still lives, where my brother still lives. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And of course, as you can imagine, the reason I want to go to San Diego, the thing I'm looking most forward to is visiting In-N-Out Burger. I mean, I so miss In-N-Out Burger. I mean, it's, I love it because it only focuses on a few different things, right? For those of you who live in the States and have access to like In-N-Out Burger and Wendy's and Jack in the Box and Carl's Jr., treasure life. Like just don't take life for granted, right? Because one day those things might all be gone, right? So, but of course, in England we have McDonald's, we have Burger King, we have KFC, we got some of the big chains, but they're not quite the same, right? Because McDonald's will whereas they started off with like a core menu, they went off to other things like adding chicken sandwiches and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I worked in McDonald's for years when I was a teenager. Right, and if you read, and I read Ray Kroc's autobiography, and then there was, of course, that really good movie, The Founder, last year, which was about Ray Kroc, and it's really interesting. I'm really, from a business point of view, I'm really interested in that kind of stuff because they talked about when the McDonald's brothers, they got rid of everything on the menu and just focused on the few things that they were really, really good at, right? And I used to work at McDonald's, and I got this menu. I found this menu that it's a bit faded. I don't know if you could read that, but this is it's McDonald's pizza, which was like a trial in when I was 17. We moved to Springfield, Massachusetts, and I worked at McDonald's, and at that McDonald's we had McDonald's pizza. And I'm sure you can imagine why that never caught on. I mean, it was like a trial. And I'm sure you can imagine why that never caught on, because it was just so good that people just couldn't handle it. Now, obviously, it was not that good. People weren't going to McDonald's for pizza, so it was not part of the core thing, right? With In-N-Out Burger, you have just burgers, shakes, and fries, and I just love it. So and drinks, whatever. So and now in England we have like chip shops. So we'll have like in Wantage, like within a short distance from this office, there's like 2 different chip shops. There's another one a short drive away, and they're all kind of the same. They're local. They'll do fish and chips, but then they'll also do like pies and like burgers and hot dogs and sausages and ribs, and all of it's very bland and very bleh, right? And I go to the one that's closest to my house because they're all kind of the same, and if that one's closed or if it's too busy, then I'll go to the other one. There's no brand loyalty there, right? So why am I even talking about this? You might think I've gone a bit crazy. Now, In-N-Out Burger, I love In-N-Out Burger because they specialize in one menu. The menu is always the same and they don't do anything else. Now, every day, once or twice a day, sometimes even more, I get an email from an IT company or a software company from anywhere in the world. A lot of them go to my spam, I don't even see them. And it'll say like, "Hi, Eric," or or just "Hi," or "Dear company owner," or something like that, and they'll say, "We are a software company from India or Belarus or Romania or wherever," and then they'll say, "We specialize in," and then there'll be a list of technologies. "We specialize in PHP, C#, SharePoint, Salesforce, Ruby, mobility apps, Android, iPhone," and they'll list like 20 languages, between 10 and 20 languages, right? And what I think when I see it is, I think, obviously your definition of specialized is different than my definition of specialized, right? And then the rest of the email, I don't know what it says because I usually never go. Sometimes they'll say like, "We can save you, 60% off IT costs," which I never understand how do they know that? They don't know what I spend on IT costs. They probably just looked at some industry standard and said, "Oh, well, we could charge less than that," right? So it's always really, really done. And they're all the same. If I click on the link and go look at the company website, it's the same one. There's like the home page that will have a stock image of the stock image. I don't know why this one is so popular. It's the gray-haired man with the glasses and the business suit holding a clipboard. I don't know why this is like everybody's favorite stock image, right? And then there'll be like logos of PHP, C#, like the official logos of the different technologies, and then call us, link or whatever. I don't know how well these work, but I can tell you they never work with me, right? I am a big believer in specialization. One of the reasons why, with Overpass, we don't say we do apps and we do websites and we do this and that and the other thing, is because we need to be specialists in what we do. We could charge more if we're specialists. So you either have specialists or generalists. Now imagine if you're like really into, say, bicycles, you're into biking, right? You're like a bike enthusiast. You cycle for miles or whatever. You have all the Lycra and everything. If you need new bike parts, if you need something new for your bike, you're not going to go to Walmart. You're going to go to a specialist bike shop, and you're going to pay more for it because you know it's better quality. If you don't really care about biking and you just need something to get around, then yeah, you'll go to Walmart, and you'll look at the bikes they have, and you'll look at the one that's maybe the cheapest, or maybe the cheapest one you could afford, or whatever like that. So it's a different class of bike shopper that goes to Walmart because they're generalists, right? So if I was going to go to a software company that had we specialize in everything. By the way, you can't specialize in everything because it's not special. You can't you can't be a specialist in everything. Even if you hire people who are specialists in everything, your credibility as a company is not that you wouldn't go to them. Like if my children were sick and money was no object because it's life or death, I'm not going to take them to a general practitioner. I'm going to unless I don't know what it is, right? If I know that it's their leg or whatever, I would want to go to a leg specialist. I'm sure there's a name for that, right? And or that. So for those of you who are thinking about starting up software companies, I would say, to as much as you have like a lot of different technologies, a lot of different experience, and you think I'm going to cast the net wide, I would like to think that you could do a lot better and get a lot better clientele by specializing in one thing. When people call me up and say, hey, can you guys do websites too? Sometimes I'll say no. Of course I can do websites. I've done websites for years, but that's not the focus of the company, right? If we just start saying we could do everything, like if I said, hi, my name is Eric, I make apps and websites, and I do a little bit of SharePoint, and I do a little bit of Salesforce, and I do a little bit of PHP, then that's not a very tight marketing message. Nobody would trust me as an app developer if I say I'm just kind of a generalist. I just kind of do everything. Now, if you don't know what you want, maybe a generalist is what you want. Like if I need some plumbing done in my house, say and I know that I need a plumber, I'm not going to go to a builder and just say, hey, do you also do plumbing, right? I'm going to say, unless that's the only person available, I'm going to want to go for a plumber, right? And unless money is really an issue, like I need to go for the cheapest one because I just can't afford it, and that's and then I might go for a general one because they might charge less than if I go to Dr. Plumber, specialist in plumbing, because he obviously looks like he's going to be more expensive, but he's also going to look like he knows what he's doing. So for those of you who are thinking about starting up a software business, and this is the point of this, specialization versus generalization. If you're going to start a software business, you're going to want, you might want any client who will pay you, right? Even if they're looking for the cheapest developer on the market because you could go the cheapest, it's not really the type of client you want to be looking for. You want to be looking for the client that is looking for the best. So in order to be the best at one thing, you have to specialize in one thing. You cannot be a specialist in everything, right? When I look at these software companies that send these emails that say, we do everything, I think of the same thing when I go to the chip shop and they've got a board that says, we make everything. We make everything you could possibly want, but all of it is mediocre and we don't specialize in one thing. Anyway, so that's it for today. I hope it's been helpful. I hope it makes sense. Sorry to go on so much about In-N-Out Burger, but for those of you who have access, treasure life. Don't give up, right? And that's it. I will talk to you guys on Monday.